All right, guys, well, here we are at concept 5, and this is perhaps one of the more challenging concepts in this whole idea of trying to find the equation of a line. So the easiest way for me to explain this to you is to help you remember that you're only ever, no matter what happens, you are looking for two things, the same two things all the time. You are looking for the slope and the y-intercept. Why? Because that's your equation, y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope, so you need that, and b is your y-intercept, so you need that. So if you can remember in your head, that's all you're ever looking for with these types of equations. What is my slope? What is my y-intercept? And how can I use the things that this problem has given me to find those two things? Then you will be just fine, okay? So let's take a look. Today we're going to look at how to do this if they give you 2 points this time. They don't tell you the slope at all. They just give you 2 random points that are on the line. They want you to find the equation. You can do that using algebra, and you can do that using a graph, okay? And we're going to take a look at the process for both of those. So let's dive right in. Using algebra, the first thing that you need is your slope. If you have 2 points and you need to find slope, you can use the slope formula. Slope formula. And do you guys remember what that is? Let me hear you say it. Absolutely. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That is slope. So m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Use that formula to find your slope. If you need the y-intercept, b, you can use the slope-intercept form. Use the slope-intercept form like we did in concept 4 to find out what your y-intercept is. Okay? Then you can write your equation, y equals mx plus b, and you'll have everything that you need. Let's take a look at an example. In number 37, they are telling you to find the equation of a line in slope-intercept form that goes through 4, 0, and 3, 3. Well, we have no idea what this line looks like, okay? So it's kind of hard to find the equation, but it's all right. We're just going to take it one thing at a time. First, I need slope. So that means y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You will get points if you write out your formula. Even if your work is wrong, you will get partial credit if you remember that this is how we find slope, okay? So please always show me that you know that. Then we're going to go through and plug it in. Let's see. I've got 2 points. It doesn't matter which one is point 1 and which one is point 2. So we'll make this x1 and y1, and then we'll make this one x2 and y2. That means to plug it into my formula, I need y's first. So y2 is 3 minus y1, which is 0, over x2, which is 3, minus x1, which is 4. So to simplify that, 3 minus 0 is 3, 3 minus 4 is -1, and 3 divided by -1 is just -3. So look at that, m equals -3. That was painless. Now we need our y-intercept. Our y-intercept can be found using our y equals mx plus b form. We can use that. We're going to write it out with spaces. Y equals m times x plus b, and then we're going to solve for that b. Let's plug in what we have. Well, our slope we found is -3. So m equals -3, x equals something, and y equals something. Guess what, guys? You can pick whichever one of these points you want. It doesn't matter. I'm going to pick this one just because it has a 0, and zeros are easy. So if I use this point for step 2, my x value is 4 and my y value is 0. So let me go ahead and plug those in. 0 equals mx plus b. 0 equals -12 plus b. I'm going to move this 12 to get my b all alone. And 12 equals b. Awesome. So now I have m equals -3, b equals 12. So I can write my final equation. Y equals mx plus b. Y equals m is -3 times x, and b is +12. Ta-da! There's my equation. I found my slope. I found my y-intercept. I'm good to go. Let's take a look at what happens when you have to use a graph, because it's a little bit different. When you're using a graph, still looking for the same two things, slope, y-intercept. But you got to remember that slope is just rise over run, which you can count on a graph. They give you 2 points. You can count the rise and count the run. That's awesome. That's like chapter 4 stuff. We got that. The y-intercept, hey look, we're just going to count that too. It's on the y-intercept and we just have to count up to it. So let's take a look. The thing that's going to get tricky with graphing is sometimes you'll have to estimate. Graphs are not very accurate when we're just doing them like this. We're not computers, so it's not always going to be perfect. So you may have to estimate for your y-intercept value a little bit, and that's okay. So I want you to write yourself a note. Estimating is okay. If it's not right on a number and you know you graphed it right, if your graph is sloppy, well, that's a problem. But if you know you graphed it right and it's in the middle, go ahead and estimate. I won't penalize you for that, okay? Let's take a look at what I'm talking about. I've got a -4 and a -5. Those are the biggest numbers I have to have on my graph. So that means that my axes can go in the middle. Why? Well, because those numbers are not super huge. I don't need to go way far out into space to get those numbers. So I'm just going to draw my axes right in the middle. Make sure you label them. All right, now plot your 2 points. We want to see where this line is. We've got 1, -4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and -2, -5. Okay. 2 points, I can make a line with that. Not a problem. Line it up nice and neat. Draw my line straight through. All right, guys. We have a graph. Hooray. Now we can try to find the pieces of information that we need in order to write our equation. The first thing that we need is slope. Slope is just rise over run. So what is that? Well, to get from this point to this point, I'm going to have to rise 1, run 1, 2, 3. So there's my slope. Slope is 1/3. Cool. Y-intercept, the second thing that I need, I'm looking at my y-intercept. This is in the middle. Okay, now is it perfectly on a half? I don't think so. I think it's a little bit closer to -4. So yeah, it's close enough. We have to estimate this one anyway. So I'm just going to say that B equals -4.5. And you can use a decimal, that's fine. If you want to do 4.4, 4.3, because it's a little bit closer to the 4, that's fine. We're talking about tiny little differences, so it doesn't really matter. As long as you know that B is where it's crossing that y-axis, that's what I want to know. Now our final equation, y equals mx plus b. Y equals m, we said, is 1/3 times x. B is -4.5. And there you have it. You have the equation of the line that you graphed. Well done. Come on back for part 2, where I will do another example for how to do this with algebra and another example for how to do it with a graph. I know you guys will be so awesome at this by the time we're done.